kept. Toxic organic data was unaccounted for. Vegetation around the waste treatment plant had completely weathered, and the trees and the leaves looked like they were dying. And there was no data available on the sludge that was collected. Next, please. We stayed there for a week, the three of us. We visited the plant, we talked to the engineers, we talked to the managing directors. They did not have enough information on the industries that were putting in the waste. They didn't really control the industries that were putting in the waste. They were coming in from 9 different streams, and they didn't have checking stations at those stations. The control of the pollutants at the source, particularly the industrial pollutants, was very weak and negligible. They did not sample the influent and effluent streams which were coming in and going out. Management, operations, and maintenance had tremendous problems. Good operations and maintenance was absent. We gave them a $300 book of 2,000 pages of how to do their proper maintenance, operations, and maintenance. And they Xeroxed it, and we suggested that they should have a training program for it. We had some general comments that we gave them, and they had aeration plants, and they are supposed to have bacteria in these tanks. What happens is the bacteria eats up the sludge and cleans up the sludge, and that's how a waste treatment plant works. When we looked at their solution under a microscope, we found there was no bacteria, so there was no sludge being eaten up. And what was happening was the industrial waste was coming in at a highly acidic or highly caustic. And when they had these big sludges of acid or base, the bacteria would get killed, so they had stopped really treating the waste. So that was the missing bacteria problem. They were not checking their bacteria. When we looked at their microscope, it was dirty, they hadn't used it for 2 months. And you've got to have the bacteria there to eat the sludge. Am I right?
Continuously.
Continuously. That was the major problem, because the industrial waste was killing the bacteria, so they were not really getting rid of the sludge. That's the #1 problem. Next, please. The history of the CETP plant, it was designed by the National Environmental, what is it called? NERI.
Research Institute.
Research Institute in 1997. It has a 55 million liters per day capacity. Has had 615 industries around the neighborhood. Now they have 1,800 industries. The industrial effluent that comes into this facility is 26 to 28 million liters per day. And the Vapi township sewer from the 75,000 people is 48 to 52 million liters a day. Vapi has one of the highest cancer rates in the country because of the bad water, and if you dig a well there, you'll get yellow water. This is insufficient capacity over design. It was designed for 55, and if you combine the two, you're way over your design capabilities. So it is past the design. They need a whole nother plant.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Please take out that comma and make the O smaller, so
Yeah.
it makes really,
Yeah.
both of them are contradictory.
Right.
Which
The way
Insufficient capacity,
comma,
over design. You don't need the over
Okay,
design.
okay.
So, what you mean to say is insufficient capacity over design.
Yeah.
So,
Remove
please
the
take
comma.
out comma and,
Yes.
yeah,
Thank
you know,
you.
for next, it's
Yeah.
only a small
Thank
group,
you.
otherwise I would have.
Next, please. Now, we looked at their process flow sheet. How is their water treated? They have a primary screening grid, a primary equalizing tank. Equalizing tank is when they bring in the water and the sludge, and they have a holding period, and they check it, and they're supposed to equalize the caustic and the acid to make it neutral, so that it falls between a pH of around 6 to 8. Then it goes to primary clarification. Then it goes to secondary What does ACT stand for?
Activated sludge process.
Actuated sludge process. Then it goes through another clarification, a tertiary sand, a USAB, which is a,
USA is upward sludge flow blanket.
okay,
That's not, they say they had success, it's supposed to get methane out of it,
right,
but they're miserably failing because the microorganisms have to be controlled properly to get methane. Otherwise it becomes carbon dioxide.
right.
Then you don't get energy out of it.
Then they have a CAT reactor, then they have solid processing, which is the thickening of the sludge, decanting, centrifuge, sludge dyeing beds, and finally it goes to a total disposal landfill site. Next please. That's the process flow sheet on how the water
Even
is.
Chicago will do the same.
You do the
It's
same things,
exactly
okay.
the same, yeah. But
We-
except it works, it's maintained and operated here, they don't maintain and operate.
They don't maintain and operate it
Yeah,
there. That's the
that's
main problem, is proper maintenance and operation. And proper training of the people is not done in India. We looked at their flow measurement, their instrumentation and controls, and they asked us to help on instrumentation and controls because they were doing it in batch systems. Take a piece, sample it, measure it, and wait for the results 2 hours later. They wanted automatic instrumentation and control and sampling. We made several suggestions on analysis, process flow sheets, items. We made 6 suggestions, and we explained to them that the parameters in the different stages that need monitoring. Next please. The suggestions we mainly made were to check it at the source, at the plant, at the CETP, and to improve their operations and optimize their process. Each of these sections has about 16 to 18 suggestions. I've just compressed it to give it to you in non-technical terms. Next please. Our first team visit was in 2008. We visited in 2009 and we visited again in 2010. Each of these visits was for about 7 days each. And at the end of each visit, we wrote about a 20-page report telling them what we found and what we suggested to do. They improved their treatment in up to 2009. There was a remarkable change in the air quality. But again, after 2009, they have fallen back to the old methods. And in 2010, there was an article in the India Times of India, again saying that they are falling behind on 4 parameters, like I showed you before, ammonia, total dissolved solids, and they're not controlling their waste. And so we are really frustrated, and we think their solution is the human waste should go through the CETP plant, and they should build another plant to check and control the industrial waste. They should be separate, because this is already at its capacity. Just use it for the industrial waste. The government of Gujarat has taken a different alternative. They didn't like our suggestion. What they are doing is putting a big pipeline into the ocean. And they're going to take the waste and throw it in the ocean 12 miles inside and pump it. What's going to happen is the fish are going to die in 10 years. And the fish are going to get bad. So we don't agree with that answer, but that is what the government of the state has decided to do. We don't think it's wise, but we don't have the authority to correct it.
You can file a